Hello, everyone. This is John Kogan, the CEO of Proformative, the online community for corporate finance, accounting, treasury, and related professionals. First, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar entitled Nailing the Interview, Converting Interviews into Offers. An interview is an opportunity that a job seeker cannot afford to waste. Nailing an interview is as much about what you do before and after the interview as your performance within the interview itself. What do you need to do before, during, and after an interview to convert that interview into a job offer? Discover best practices in interview preparation, execution, and follow-up to maximize the ROI you receive for each interview opportunity that you have worked so hard to earn. That will be the focus of today's webinar. I've got a few items to run through before we get into the webinar itself. First off, welcome to today's event. A few notes, a link to today's presentation, and a video of this webinar, the recording, will be sent out to all attendees within 24 hours of the event. Not the video itself, but a link to the video. And this presentation is already actually posted on proformative.com/resources, where you may download it, of course, for free at any time, including now, if you'd like to have it to follow along with. Those who would like CPE credits will need to answer the polling questions in today's webinar. We have 3 polling questions, which we will take very brief breaks for, and I will be taking over for 1 minute each, roughly, from our speaker while we put those polling questions out there. If you're here for CPE credits, you must take the polling questions. Even if you're not here, we'd love for you to take them. They're actually statistical in nature, and we will, if we have time, share the results of these quick polls in the Q&A portion of the event, and then you can see how you stand versus your peers who are online. Next note, please do ask questions. We've got a wonderful speaker today who is greatly steeped in the subject matter, and if you have any specific questions for him, then you can feel free to ask those questions at any point in today's webinar. If you'll take just one moment, take a look at your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll see a little area there called questions. You might need to expand it by hitting the plus, and then you can type us questions at any point. Typically, we hold questions until we get to the Q&A portion at the end, although if they are clarifying questions, we might pause to address those. Finally, you will be asked to take a short survey regarding the webinar after the webinar is done. It takes about 60 seconds, and during that survey, we make it very easy for you to request a connection with today's speaker, Moishe Kravitz. So if you would like to request a connection, we do that via email. It's very simple and straightforward, and it's just a click of a mouse. So that is in that short survey. We appreciate your giving us your feedback and are happy to help make a connection. Next up, a few learning objectives for today. Today's webinar is all about the interview, preparing for the interview, how you execute the interview, and then post-interview, what should you do in order to maximize your chances of getting whatever position you're interviewing for. So we hope that you come away with a number of useful strategies that you can apply in your current or future job searches that will help you convert more interviews into job offers. A quick note about Proformative. To those who are new to Proformative, we are a very, very large online community of CFOs, controllers, treasurers, and the like. It's mostly just folks helping each other out online, asking and answering questions. It's all completely free and noise-free, no ads, no self-promotion, etc. Speaking as a 20-year finance person myself, it's a wonderful resource, and it's great to be able to tap into your peers so quickly and easily. So that's a word about Proformative. Now, let us go ahead and move right into today's program. It is my pleasure to introduce Moishe Kravitz, a certified 5 o'clock club career coach and our speaker today. Moishe guides his clients in selecting appropriate targets and in marketing themselves effectively. His experience includes many years as an educator, actuarial positions at CNA Insurance and Buck Consultants, and his position, as Director of Financial Planning and Analysis at a major telecommunications and energy company. Everywhere he works, Moishe demonstrates a passion for helping others to improve their skills and efficiency. With his passion, he helps job seekers hone their job search skills, enabling them to land offers more quickly and at higher salary rates. And with that, Moishe, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar and invite you to please take us away.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. And welcome to all the attendees. Hope that you enjoy and benefit very much from today's presentation. Let's begin the webinar with the end in mind, which is the way that a job seeker should begin his
Sure, I think you had it. You went backwards one. If you could hit page down.
Yeah.
Let's see if we
we're going there. I pushed the right button. I don't want to push it too many times.
There it is. There it is. It's on my screen.
Okay, there we go. Now, if it stays there, we're good. Anyway, begin with the end in mind. And don't write a thank you letter. Don't write a thank you letter. The common knowledge is, oh, you go home right away and write a thank you letter. Well, listen what happened to Richard when he wrote a thank you letter. He came home elated from his interview. It was great. They loved his skills. He'll be a great fit over there. And he was just waiting to get that offer and waiting and waiting and waiting. He knew they have other people, other candidates, but they liked him so much. He was such a great fit. He has plans already, what he's going to accomplish over there, and he's waiting and waiting. Meanwhile, while Richard is waiting, the hiring manager is not waiting. He's interviewing candidate number 2, and for sure, the candidate must present with some different skill set, some different emphases, some different talents than the hiring manager was able to see in Richard. And candidate 3 and 4 and the job position evolves. The manager says, oh yeah, we could use that. Oh yeah, we really should have that. By the time they get to candidate 6, the job has evolved so much. Richard is ancient history. If he's lucky, he'll get a letter that's kind. It says, Richard, thank you for coming in, and you have great skills, and we wish you a successful career. So what should you do if you don't write a thank you letter? Write an influencing letter. Ken was interviewing for a position as Senior VP in marketing. And he did attend this webinar, so to speak. Richard had not. So he knew when he came that the end game was to try to make an influencing follow-up. And he does that by paying close attention before he gets there, while he's there, to understand what are the real needs of this employer who I'm speaking with. And he realized as he went away from this interview that the question in their mind was not, will Ken make a good VP of marketing? Does he have the skills that we need in this position? Which typically an employer wants to know, first of all, can you cut it? Can you do what I need? Secondly, will you have the enthusiasm? Will you fit in? Their question in this organization was much more basic. Ken was able to discern that they were struggling with how should marketing fit within this new organization. And realizing that, Ken went home and wrote a 4-page proposal outlining how he would suggest marketing should fit within this new organization. He overnighted this document to the hiring manager, and when he was called back for a second interview, he asked before leaving the first time and was told, there are 6 people whom we're planning to meet. You're the first one. When he was called back, he asked again, where are they up to in the interview process? How many candidates have they met? How many do they plan to meet? He was the only candidate. Obviously, they'd seen in him what they needed. He outshined all the other candidates. That is how you write an influencing letter. Now, to be effective in your interview, you have to know what to do before this interview even begins, how to conduct yourself during the interview, and especially know what to do afterwards. There's lots to do before the interview, and let's start with some of the things that are so obvious that they should not even need to be mentioned. But sometimes you have to mention the obvious. Present yourself looking like a professional. Take a shower, come in fresh, a nice pressed suit. One hiring manager was looking and couldn't find the candidate. The candidate was in front of him, but unrecognizable as an insurance executive by the way he presented. So just like we mentioned last week in the webinar about resumes, trivial things shouldn't be there to cost you a great opportunity, like grammatical errors, spelling mistakes. The same thing over here. If your shirt is not clean, why should it cost you an opportunity, something that's easily fixed? Next. Be well rested. Do yourself a favor, because it makes a big difference in how well you come across. The night before, you're nervous, you're busy. Schedule yourself so you have time to get a good night's sleep before the interview, or if it's later in the day, maybe a nap in the afternoon. But come well rested. You'll smile. You'll feel relaxed. You'll feel more confident, and especially you'll be more spontaneous. You'll think better. You'll respond better. Do these things. Dress professionally. Be well rested, etc., even for a phone interview, because it makes a difference. Your attitude, your feelings come across in the call. Your enthusiasm, if you smile, it comes across. Sit in the front of your chair, it comes across. Today, when I came to work, knowing I'm giving this interview, I put on the special shirt and a tie that my wife bought me for when I speak publicly, even though nobody sees me. You feel different based on how you get dressed. And it comes across even in a phone interview. Arrive early. Few reasons for that. Number one, once on one of these webinars, there was technical problems till the last minute. It wasn't even connected yet, and it made me very nervous, and that affected the presentation. You don't want a traffic jam, even if you get there on time, make you nervous and affect how you present by your resume, by your interview. So come early. Now, when you get there early, bring stuff to do so that you're occupied. But one of the things to do is, I used to do this back, excuse me, in the middle of the 20th century when I was graduating from university, and recruiters would come to campus. And so before I went for my interview, I'd come a few minutes early, ahead of schedule, and sit down in a comfortable chair. Sit down in a very relaxed position. Breathe and relax individually each part of the body. Relax your toes, relax your feet, relax your ankles, part by part, and especially focus on those areas of the body where you'll notice the tension seems to build up in the shoulders, the back of the neck, and the jaws, the temples, forehead. Focus on relaxing each part of your body, and it has a tremendous impact. Again, you'll smile in a more genuine way. Your voice will be deeper and more real. You'll think better, and you come across much better. It improves the quality of your interview. Also, while you're there early, take this opportunity to feel out the culture. Look, see what's around, listen, see who's there, what do they look like, how do they interact with each other, how do they interact with you. Engage them. Mention, I'm here for an interview, I'm very excited about interviewing at this company, it's a beautiful building, how long have you been here? Well, by the way, how long have you been working here? How do you like it? If everybody tells you, I've been here 2 months, 3 months, you begin to get a certain impression. If they say 12 years, 13 years, you get a different impression. Finally, the most important thing about before the interview is be well prepared. How do you prepare? First of all, do research. You research by reading, you research by talking to people. Read what the company says about itself, look on their website, look on their press releases, look especially in their 10K, become familiar with the industry, the company, the challenges that they're faced with, the opportunities they may have. So you can come and ask intelligent questions about what have you done, what are you doing, what still could be done to address these challenges, what has worked, what has not, why, what is the competition doing, why aren't you doing that, etc., etc. If you do this kind of preparation, first of all, you will differentiate yourself from most other candidates, because obvious as this is, most do not do it. So you'll differentiate yourself. You'll show the initiative, and you'll come across as intelligent, asking important questions, better questions, deeper questions than other candidates are asking. Talk to people. Talk to people currently employed in this company, previously employed, people who know somebody employed. You can go to Volt.com and read what people are saying, people who are currently or have recently been employed at this company. Now, obviously, all of that must be taken with a grain of salt. You have to know why the person's not there anymore, to have some kind of an axe to grind, keep it in perspective, but it's a resource to get some information about the company. Another thing to prepare in advance is know whom you'll be speaking with, the name, title, function, concerns of each person who's scheduled to meet with you. Why? So that you'll be able to anticipate what are the issues that are important to this person. What challenges is he facing? What are his concerns? And you can then look in your vast array of quantified accomplishments, those which you've selected to put on your resume and those which you've left out but they're at your fingertips, and decide which of these accomplishments would be most interesting to this person with his concerns, with his challenges, to show him that I can provide what he needs. And finally, be prepared to know what the position is as much as you can in advance, and then obviously when you get there, you dig in more. Before you go, read what's been stated about the position. There may be job responsibilities, prerequisites, skills, etc. That's if the position that you're going for was among the 10 or 20% of positions that do get advertised. But if you're doing your work properly and not devoting 100% of your efforts to ads and recruiters, which only turn up at most 20% of the jobs, if you're using networking and direct contact, so you're going now for an interview to one of those jobs which is in the 80% of jobs that's never advertised. So how will you get a picture of the position? Well, this company did not advertise for that job, but it's a job that exists, and other companies do post for it. So read what they're saying about this position. What do they write as the criteria, as the job functions, as the prerequisites, as the skills required? Read what they say about it. Okay. You want to know about the reporting hierarchy. Is the organization flat? Is it hierarchical? How do you fit in? Who are the superiors? Who are the peers? Who are the subordinates? What are the responsibilities of the position, etc., etc. Another important area is how will this person be evaluated? By whom and when? Who sets the criteria? And you want to know the dependencies. Upon whom would you be dependent to get information? Who depends upon you for giving information? What kind of working relationship would there be between these dependencies? An important question to ask, a very helpful question to ask, is why did they call you in? They got a resume. They got a zillion resumes of qualified candidates. What was it in your resume that interested you? The answer gives you a good clue as to what they need, which that's what you're trying to determine. And once they told you which item on your resume was the one that intrigued them, that enables you to focus your marketing towards that need and show them other things in your skill sets, in your experience, in your accomplishments, which will show that you can cater to that need. Another question, which is a standard question they may or may not ask, but it's so standard, it's so obvious that at least you should be prepared. Don't be caught off guard. Have an answer to why do you want to work specifically at this company and in this position.
Okay, why don't I jump right in here between before the interview and during the interview, and we'll go ahead and launch the first polling question. This is the first of 3 polling questions. Once again, if you're here for CPE credit, you will need to take this question. Even if you're not here for CPE credit, though, we'd love to see what you have to say. Now, this is all anonymous. Don't worry, no one's going to see what your answer is. But in aggregate, we'll take a look at these, and it'll be interesting, and we'll ask Moshe to comment when we get there as to what the results are. And we'll get to see what our peers are doing in terms of, in this case, how much research you do prior to the interview. I'll go ahead and leave this open for another 10 seconds or so. Make sure everyone who wants to answer this can get a vote in, and then we'll bring it right back to Moshe. So I'm going to go ahead and close that now. Moshe, I'm going to drop you on to your next slide, and please continue. Oops.
Okay, you went too many? Okay, fine. That was before the interview. Now we're up to the interview, during the interview. Our goal is, we know that we're coming to a business meeting. We're coming to give and get information. So let's approach it with a consultant mentality. Imagine you called in a consultant to your business. You're considering replacing some software system. So the guy doesn't pull up with the equipment in his car. He comes in with his clipboard. He comes to ask you questions. What do you need? He has to zero in on exactly what you need in order to know what product he should offer you. So you're coming now to this interview with a consultant mentality. What does this operation, what does this organization need? And the better I understand their needs, the better I could show them how my skills will cater to their needs. What is the goal? Except for very low entry-level positions or unusual circumstances, offer is usually not given at the end of the first interview. So the goal is to keep the process moving, get the next meeting, outshine the competition. So we use the research that we've done, the preparation that we've done, to ask good, intelligent questions, to try to uncover and understand what they need. You might be lucky. You might get an organization where they know what they need and they're forthright and they tell you, but don't bank on it. They might know and not tell you. They might think they know. They may know that they don't know. Peter Drucker, decades ago, already began referring to our age as the age of the knowledge worker, where by contrast with the Industrial Revolution, where it was manual work, even skilled manual work, right? Take an electrician. The guy's the foreman. He's 20 years in the work, and he knows it better than the guys who are working for him, and he's directing them how to do the job the best. What works the best? What's most efficient? Today, knowledge workers, the CIO probably forgot how to program. They're bringing in fresh guys who have the greatest, sharpest, most current skills in technology. You're being brought in for the knowledge that you have. You could probably discern what the organization needs and offer solutions better than the person who's hiring you. So the point is that you have the ability to discern what they need. Use it by asking good questions and listening carefully to their responses. Once you have that picture, you see what they need, use your accomplishments to demonstrate. Don't tell me, show me. Show me with your accomplishments what you could do for me. This comment on the bottom where it says tell them means a different thing. It means, I've seen many resumes where the person lists his skills, and he assumes that the hiring manager will look at those skills and figure out what that candidate could do for him. Well, don't leave it up to him to figure it out. You tell him what you could do for him. After you see what his needs are, you do the you do the job. It's like you go to a restaurant and they put we have chicken, we have barbecue sauce, we have rice. Put it together, cook it, serve the thing with gravy. You tell the hiring manager, these are my skills, and here's how I can put them together to address these needs and challenges that you're facing. Now, some important things to find out are who actually makes the decision to hire over here, and who are the people who influence this decision maker, and what are the challenges, concerns, issues of every one of these individuals. Right? Because you're going to want to follow up with a separate influencing letter, proposal, phone call, email, whatever the proper format might be, with every one of the people whom you meet. And do yourself a favor and take notes while you're there, because it's much too much to remember. Now, the person conducting the interview, he may be excellent as a manager, excellent as a professional, but who said that he's excellent as an interviewer? Even those who do have a lot of experience interviewing, not necessarily so good at interviewing, he'll appreciate if you could help him to keep the interview focused on the main points, why you came there, discuss the job, discuss their needs, etc. Don't get lost. In case the discussion wanders onto politics or tennis or anything, bring it back. You speak for a few minutes and bring it back. Keep in mind how much time you have, and come in with your 3x5 card or with your clipboard where you wrote down 3, 4 main points of your accomplishments, of your skills that you want to be sure to convey while you're here today, and also 3, 4 main questions that you need to know about the job, the people, the organization. Make sure you stay focused and give this information. Now, a mindset which helps you to formulate a lot of practical, relevant questions is think as if you're beginning next Monday in this position. What would you need to know? It brings a lot of practical questions to mind. Now, we touched on this before. There's a lot of standard questions that you could anticipate, and just don't be caught off guard. Prepare in advance. Tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? What's your management style? If you could give an answer, again, show me, don't tell me. An example of your management style. That's great. It's compelling, it's effective, it's much more interesting to listen to. And as we're talking about having prepared answers, somebody, when I gave this webinar yesterday, suggested have several answers prepared for each question, so that in case your prepared answer may not be appropriate for this person whom you're speaking to in this exact situation, you have another one to choose from. You have several answers to choose from, so you can pick the one which is most appropriate. Now, sometimes a person might anticipate certain difficult questions that they might ask you. So rather than just hope and pray that they shouldn't ask me those questions, be prepared to answer them. But answer them in a brief way as possible, because really the answer is not relevant. They don't care. That gap in your employment, they don't do it. Whatever the extenuating circumstances were and how justified it was, they don't care. They're doing their due diligence. They want to make sure you're a responsible person, you're going to do a good job for them. The more brief and neutral the answer could be, the better. In fact, not even neutral. First of all, negative, forget about it. Never say anything negative, denigrating about anybody, not an employer, not a coworker, not an organization. As valid as it may be, it will not serve your purpose, right? They'll hear you downgrading that guy, so he thinks, oh, he'll talk about me also like that. Why shouldn't he think that way? Never anything negative. At least neutral, and if possible, couch the same thing in a positive way, right? They asked me yesterday for examples. Negative would be, let's say this question, what happened between you and the CEO? He was a micromanager. It's definitely not going into all the nitty-gritty stuff, but still, why say something negative? You could say, since the downturn in the economy, the atmosphere has changed around here. Yeah. The gist will be understood. He checks it off, and you go on to the next question. If you make it positive, you could say, actually, this is the answer I put down for a different question. Why are you changing? Right? Why are you changing fields? Why are you changing fields? So there may be good reasons that are chasing you out of where you were, but you don't have to address that. You say, yeah, I'm looking to be in a growth industry. Put the whole positive spin on the whole thing. Right? I was once asked, I was changing fields, a big change in fields. So hiring manager called me up, and he said, why are you changing? That's a legitimate question. So I said to him, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Okay. And he asked me the next question. In fact, when I came in for the interview, he started to ask that question, and he reminded himself, oh yeah, you told me Dickens. Okay, next. They don't care. Just you have to have some kind of a plausible answer, and then you go on with the business. What's the position like? What's the company like? The rule of thumb is, don't try to think, what's the right answer? There is no right answer. How am I going to play this? You keep your goals in mind. Determine their needs. Show that you're a good fit. Outshine the competition, right? How am I going to play this? Whatever question they ask you, you think, how am I going to play this? How will it help to advance these goals? And in terms of preparing in advance answers to those questions that you could anticipate that they will ask, Winston Churchill is quoted as saying that some of the best offhand quips that he said in Parliament were prepared 3 days in advance. So try to anticipate those questions, especially those questions that might be difficult, to have an answer. How should I play it? How could I use it to advance my goals? Now, here are some very good questions to ask at the interview. What would you hope the new hire should accomplish in the first 6 months? Gives you a good sense of what are their needs and what they're anticipating for the person to do. Are there issues that are not currently being addressed that need to be addressed? Let's say, for example, there might be an incumbent who's been there, he's the CFO for 20 years, and he's retiring, right? So they're bringing you in, and he himself will acknowledge to you that there are certain issues that he never addressed that need to be addressed. Now, by changing of the guard, new blood, somebody new coming in, is an ideal time to try to address some of those things. You'd like to know what they are, and go home and make a proposal about how you would address those items. If you can ask why they haven't been addressed until now, and what challenges there may be in trying to address those items, you're better prepared to write a more relevant proposal. Here's a great question. How could I make your job easier? How could I help you to earn a gold star? I mentioned this to a certain manager, and he said, if somebody asked me that question in an interview, I would hire him. Who wouldn't want a person with such an attitude? Granted, if he's qualified, it's a great attitude to have on your team. Okay. The most important questions to ask that many, maybe most people wouldn't think of or wouldn't ask. Would you have any objections to hiring a candidate like myself? You can make it a little less personal. Don't say, would hiring me. Right? Would you hesitate to hire a person with my background, a person with my level of experience? Why should you ask such a question? Why should I raise such objections in their mind? You're not raising those objections. The objections are already there in their mind. It's just not in your mind. And if not, you can't respond to them. If you ask the question and you find out the objections, you could do something about it. you can respond. There may be some misimpression. You didn't convey enough information or convey it correctly, so you can clarify and erase the objection. On the other extreme, some objections may be things that you can't help, right? They may need to hire a certain number of people out of column A and B and C that you can't help. But one of my favorite stories is a lady who was interviewing to be director of marketing. And they liked her skills. They liked her. She was a good fit. But she was too reserved, too laid back for director of marketing. And she was able to uncover this objection. So with this knowledge, equipped with this knowledge, she went home, wrote her proposal, and asked for another meeting. I'd like to show you this proposal. And she came in wearing a red outfit and sat at the front of her chair and leaned forward, and they hired her. Oh, how did we ever think that she was too reserved? So if you can uncover the objections, you can have a chance of addressing them and possibly overcoming them. Other important questions, we touched on this, where are you up to in the hiring process? Because the earlier on you come in, the more that is to your disadvantage. You have to build in some way to find out what happens as the process proceeds and the position evolves, and how do I compare to the other candidates? If you don't know, you can't do anything about it. They may not want to say, well, you're the top candidate and you're the bottom candidate, but if you break this up into smaller pieces, you could possibly get some very useful information. Could you describe how you picture the ideal candidate for this position? Right? How are the other candidates whom you've met so far? Have you met anybody who matches up to that ideal? Anybody who comes close? How close do they come? How do I match up to that ideal? You break it into smaller pieces, and you could get good information. But it's an important question to try to ask, because that will help you to write a better follow-up. Also, while you're there, establish a plan for the follow-up. Who will contact me afterwards, and when, and how? And if I don't hear from that person by that time, what should I do? And don't be surprised if they said we'll contact you for sure by a week from Monday, if not sooner. And a week from Monday comes, you didn't hear a word from them. Don't be surprised. And not that they were insincere. Just people get busy and distracted and busy with other stuff. But have a plan about what to do. Don't be like what was that, Richard at the beginning, waiting until it's too late. Have a plan where you can build in how you can interact. Whom could you contact? You may go home and realize 2 important things you forgot to tell them, or something you realize it came out not quite so straight. You want to revise it. Whom could you contact? When and how? And also to be able to check in before they reach a decision, monitor, as we said, how the position is evolving, and provide more input so you remain in the race.
Okay, let me go ahead and hop in here again real quickly. And once again, we're going to jump in between during the interview and the post-interview now to ask our second CPE polling question. We'll leave this out for about 40 seconds. And ask that everyone take a shot at answering this, even if you're not here for CPE credit. And I'll also take this moment to remind folks that you can ask questions at any time, which Moshe will then address during the Q&A portion of today's event. Also, a quick reminder, after we finish the event, you will be prompted immediately to take a very quick survey. We really appreciate your doing that. So that we can learn how to do better the next time, and we greatly appreciate that feedback from everyone. I'm going to leave the poll open for another few seconds, and we'll go ahead and close it now. Moshe, I'll drop you on your next slide and ask you to keep on going.
Okay. After the interview, first thing to do, on your way home, or if not on the way, once you get home, debrief. Record what happened. You took notes when you were there, but go over them and write down what happened. First thing I like to do is write down what was the setting, what was the scenario. When I give a speech, I come home and I write down the lighting was good, the climate, the air conditioning was good, or you may write down after your interview, it was hot and stuffy there and I had a cold and I couldn't concentrate. This is important for you to know in assessing your performance so that you have that external information also in mind. And after that, the main thing is write down each person whom you met, record something personal about each one, which you can use to build upon in developing a personal relationship with each person as you respond to them, as you follow up, influencing follow-up. And main thing is, what were their concerns? How did they react to you? What were your impressions of them? What are their issues? How do those issues need to be addressed? That's what you have to formulate. Next, critique your performance. How did you do? And start with what you did well. Oh, I came early, and I looked very professional, and those questions, types of questions, I answered very well. This type of questions, I was a little weak. These questions, it was a bomb. So write it down and think about how you could improve it for the next time. I once saw a cartoon of a teacher appealing to the principal for a raise. She says that I have 11 years experience. And the principal corrected her and said, Ms. Jones, you have 1 year of experience that you repeated 10 times. So don't be like that teacher. Critique your performance and write down how you could improve it for the next time. And realize that interviewing improves with practice. And maybe it's like a wine improves with age. No, this improves with practice. You go and you practice, and next time you do better. You do better. These webinars, I practice them 2-3 times before giving them live, because each time that you practice, it gets better. Now, when you practice, don't practice on your A priority company, the one that you hope to get a job with. Practice on your C company. You could care less if they offer or they don't offer you. You're going to be more confident when you go there, and you get practice. And who knows? It may even turn out to be something more valuable than you expected. But realize that the practice helps you to improve over here very much. Okay, here is where the real work begins. We've been referring to it, the interview follow-up. You want to have, if possible, have a mentor to help you. The 5 o'clock club calls this the brainiest part of the interview, of the job search process, is how to craft an effective, compelling, influencing follow-up to each of the people whom you met with. Here are a few sample items that you might be focusing on to try to accomplish some influence. One could be, like we saw, we'll see the next 2 slides, a sample letter of getting to the next step, moving things along. That's influencing. You should be called back to take the next step in the interview process. You want to show initiative, interest, and competence. You want to outshine your competition, like we gave example at the beginning with Ken, who wrote the proposal about how he sees marketing fitting into the organization. Your follow-up might be to overcome objections, like that lady who came in with the red dress. Your influence might be, you might need to feel, you may feel you need to turn around the situation. Example would be a candidate who came and interviewed. It was a small department, and he sensed that one of his potential peers, who had like second standing next to the boss, felt a little worried about losing his special status, special position, other concerns also. Would the new hire be friendly and jovial in the nice rapport that they have among their small working group? Would he be interested in pitching in the many ad hoc demands for projects, etc.? And so this candidate wrote a letter specifically tailored to address the concerns of this potential peer, and he addressed the concern, allayed the concern. He will be a friendly, jovial part of the working environment. One of his greatest skills and passion is in these types of ad hoc projects that they're asked to do. He'd be glad to help out in doing them, et cetera, et cetera. Besides alleviating the fears of this potential peer. He's now gained an ally and an influencer to the hiring manager. And if and when he signs on, he's beginning now, instead of in a potential relationship of tension, he's beginning now with a working relationship that's already begun on the right foot and is built already upon mutual understanding. And finally, interview follow-up to influence the decision makers and the people who influence them. By the way, influencers do not need to have a big title associated with their name. An influencer could be the secretary of the hiring manager, right? If you're very cordial and you tell her a nice hello with a big smile, that could go a long way. And the opposite could also go a long way. Okay, this example of a follow-up letter which moves things along to the next stage. It's on 2 pages. It won't be here long enough for you to read the whole thing, but the point is that here in this page, he shows a good understanding of the company's needs and demonstrates how his skills could well go towards providing what the company needs. And then in the next paragraph, that's his call to action, where he says, why don't we meet again and discuss one region in depth, what type of a plan we would make together to address the needs of that region. When you have time, you can get this from the archive and read through it if you like. Or here's where it's from. There's the book that it's from and the page number. A few more points before we stop for Q&A. Here's a few confidence builders. Confidence is an important element to the interview process. It helps you to interview much better. And if you have 6 to 10 things in the works, other things going, other companies you're speaking with, that bolsters your confidence very much. Imagine if this is the only interview you have, the only foreseeable interview. All your eggs in one basket. You're very nervous. You don't want to blow it. You don't want to say the wrong thing. If you have 6 to 10 things in the works, you're more relaxed. You're not so nervous, and you perform better in this interview. And if that helps, how much more so having an offer in your pocket? Whoa, does that boost your confidence? And it boosts your value in your own eyes and the employer's eyes, right? Today, employers don't want to look at somebody who's not currently employed. Some go so far as to put it on their website, if you're not employed, don't bother to apply. There's no reason to it. It's prejudice, right? Yesterday he was employed and today he's not. He's the same person, the same skills. So just that has an effect, prejudice. If a candidate has an offer, ooh, he's desired by others, he must be desirable, and it lifts your value in their eyes very much, and it changes the tone of the entire interview because they know they have to be serious. You have an offer already. If they don't, if they want you, they're going to have to talk seriously to outbid the other offer. It makes a very different tone in the whole thing. Knowing your qualifications makes you more confident. Knowing this process, do research beforehand, follow up with an influencing follow-up, makes you more confident going into the process, and as we mentioned, practice. Final point is rejection letters happen. There you get them. What do you do? What do you do? So one person, when I gave this lecture publicly, heard about this. He said, wish you heard this beforehand because they were supposed to contact him and they didn't, and it took a long time, and he got frustrated and he let them know about it. He threw away an opportunity. There are still opportunities to be had even after a rejection letter. I saw this week a statistic that said, I don't know if it's true, but this is what they reported, and they quoted it from somebody, that most sales are made after 6 rejections. Okay, so a rejection letter doesn't mean that you're not going to get a job. Maybe they have another position in the same firm. They liked you. There was a serious interview process, maybe you'll be as good or better for a different position in that firm. Another thing is the story of Michael. He was one of 2 finalists, and they chose the other person. And when they interviewed him, he thought he was so sweet. They liked him so much. He wrote back right away, I know that you made the right decision for your firm, but please know that I like you and I like your organization and I hope to work for you and please keep me in mind. And a few months later, he wrote them another letter, keeping in touch, letting them know what he's up to. And again, I like you and your organization, please keep me in mind. And a year later, when they had another opening, what do you think they did? They didn't get resumes. They called Michael, and he got the job. At least, make this into a networking meeting. They like you. They respect you. Would you know of other companies that I could apply to? Would you know of individuals there whom I should contact? Could I use your name? Maybe even they'll put in a good word for you. Use it at least for a networking meeting. And finally, here's what Stan did when he received his rejection letter. He was quite surprised to receive it. He immediately wrote a letter, hand-delivered it, and here is what he wrote. Okay, that also appears in the same book, Mastering the Job Interview by Kate Wendelton. And it says the page number. You could take a look at it over there. Thank you for attending. And John, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. That was really great, Moshe, as always. Great knowledge, great examples. Appreciate that. Let's quickly dispatch of our 3rd polling question, which I'm going to launch right now. And we've got a couple questions in the queue. We're getting towards the end of our hour. We always try and be very respectful of the time of the attendees. So we're going to do our darndest to get us out of here on time, but we'll have time for a few questions here, I'm hoping, or a couple questions. So poll is open. I'll leave it open for another 20 seconds or so here, and then we will actually turn these poll questions around very quickly, and we'll see what everyone else said and give Moshe a chance to comment on these polls. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and close down this poll. And now just very quickly, we'll go ahead and run through these polls. So we're showing the first one. How much research do you do prior to an interview? A little, 50% fair amount research company interviewers, and then 44% a lot, which is great to see. Moshe, is this sort of a spread that you typically would expect?
I'm surprised to see it heavy at the bottom and delighted to see that. We're speaking to a good audience over here, high caliber.
Exactly. For sure. I would agree with that. We're going to pop up the next one. How intently do you ask questions during an interview? Everything from virtually none, I'm there to an interview to answer questions, to a bit. And then once again, Moshe, I have to say this must speak to the caliber of our audience. I think it's 74%, even highest, but yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. And then finally, down to the last polling question. Here we go. After the interview, and once again, a lot of immediate follow-up. This audience knows their stuff, I would say.
Okay, but the one comment over here, that 71%, we hope that after today's webinar, the follow-up note is not a thank you note, but an influencing note.
Right. Absolutely. All right, let's get into a couple of questions here very quickly. So first question up, Moshe. I've been a finance director, been job searching for about a year and a half. At this point, should I just accept any job, even if it might put me back 10 to 15 years career-wise? Thus far, I've been very selective, but I wonder how much longer I should be that selective. What's your take on that?
Okay, I need more context for the question, but the time is short. Let me just make a response. If it's not working, try something different. Yeah, but before trying something different to a different job function, to a different industry, try something different within what you're doing. Try out your resume on a few people, people who know, people who see resumes. Ask what impression is it giving? Is it coming across the way you intended it to? If your resume is working, you're getting interviews, you're just not getting jobs. So try out what you're doing in an interview on somebody. Think, what is the thing, if there's something common in the interviews that's tripping you up? Because there's been cases of candidates where they're trying for a long time, but if they have especially somebody help them, a professional help them analyze their marketing, the way they're marketing themselves, it can become more effective by tweaking something. Sometimes it is a matter of the target. Are you targeting the right thing? It's a long discussion. That's just some of the headlines.
Great advice. What do you see as the most common pitfalls for senior finance executives during the interview process? So if there were a short list of things that we should be thinking to ourselves, okay, let's avoid this, either before, during, or after, what are the top 2 or 3?
So somebody should prepare himself a list of the mistakes not to make, you're saying, when he's going in. And you're specifying it to top finance executives, which is our audience. One comment.
Well, it's really it's also what are the most common mistakes that you see.
Yeah. So first, a specific comment is take a step back. A general comment is like this: that if 2 people present as candidates, one guy is much more qualified in skills and experience, and the other guy is much better in the job search process. He's great at preparing a resume and great at interviewing and great at following up, etc. The statistics show that he is more likely to get the job. Okay, so that's one general comment, is focus on the job search skills aspect of your candidacy. Make sure that stuff is in place. And kind of a corollary to that is a finance guy, a finance executive, you go in there, you want to know nitty-gritty, and you should. You should be asking about nitty-gritty to understand their needs, but don't get lost in that. Let that not distract you from seeing the big picture that you need to take into account as part of the job search process, the relationships with the other people, et cetera, other points that we've mentioned over here.
Gotcha, great. Now, at this point, in order to be mindful of everyone's time, I think I'm going to start drawing it to a close. Now, we have a few questions left that we haven't been able to get to. Moshe, can we pass those by you after today's event and ask you to reach out to folks? Okay, great. So thank you very much. We'll rest assured we'll work with Moshe. We'll get these questions addressed, and apologies. But Moshe had a lot of great content today. I'm glad we got through all of that and had a few moments for a couple of questions here. Now, a couple pieces of quick housekeeping. You will be prompted to take a short survey. We appreciate that. Plus, if you'd like to be connected with Moshe directly, we make it really easy in that survey. You just click a button, and we're happy to help make that connection. If you have any questions at all about CPE credit, please contact Ms. Brower. You can see her email address at the bottom there. Certainly, please join us online at Proformative.com. We continue the discussion going there, and we always love to see the great conversations going on in our community online. Finally, Moshe, thank you so much for your time, the content, instruction, just really great insight, highly valuable, and greatly appreciated. So thanks for joining us this morning.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for everybody for coming.
Okay, and speaking of everybody, thanks everyone for your time and attention this morning, and I'm certain this will be helpful to a great number of folks. We hope to see you again at another event, Proformative or on Proformative online. And with that, we bid everyone a happy Friday and a great weekend. Take care all. We'll see you next time.